Going to the moon turned out to be the hardest thing human beings have ever done outside of the moon. 10 times the scale of the Panama Canal, 3 times the scale of the Manhattan Project. And yet, 50 years later, we have forgotten 2 really important things. We've lost track of 2 really important things related to going to the moon. We've lost track of how hard it was, and we've lost track of the impact that going to the moon had back on Earth at the time we did it, and in fact, on the way we live now. We've also lost track of something just as important, and that is how we pulled it off. That's why I decided to write a book to answer that question. How did we actually do it? And I am delighted to be in a room, talking to a room of engineers, engineering professors, because there's no more appreciative audience, because the flight to the moon is really the story of kind of amazing, heroic engineering, and I really appreciate Doug Melton thinking that I'd be able to add something today. When John Kennedy said, "Let's go to the moon," famously, in May 1961, it wasn't just science fiction, it was quite literally impossible. In May 1961, there was no rocket powerful enough to fly us to the moon. There was no computer small enough and nimble enough to guide the spaceship there. There were no spacesuits to wear when you got out and wanted to walk around the moon. In fact, in May 1961, to give you a sense of what the world was like then, more than half of Americans had never been on any kind of airplane at all. And John Kennedy was asking them to fly us to the moon. 8 years later, Armstrong and Aldrin are bouncing around on the moon in their blazing white spacesuits while 600 million people watched. 2 years after Armstrong and Aldrin, we were driving a moon dune buggy around on the surface of the moon and having a great time doing it. So how did we do that? How did we take something that was literally impossible and make it reality 98 months later? The secret, of course, is the engineers. The astronauts flew to the moon, but it was the engineers who flew them and all the rest of us to the moon.